Think of the most racist film ever made. Chances are your first thought would be The Birth of a Nation, D.W. Griffith's silent epic where the villains are black people played by white people in blackface, and the heroes are white people in Ku Klux Klan attire. I doubt that many would argue you can't get more racist than featuring a film where black characters try to rape white women and then are lynched in a manner meant to be more heroic than horrific. The film inspired a new generation of the KKK and is celebrated as a classic of the Klan. But Griffith's follow-up film was an interesting one. While The Birth of a Nation was a brutally racist production, his next film, Intolerance, seemed like the polar opposite. Here was a tale that was more relatable as one about drama and persecution throughout the ages. We go to Babylon and watch a prince taken down in the name of religion. Then Judea to view Christ on his last days. Then France, where Catherine de Medici watches over the slaughter of people. And then California, where a woman begs for the life of her husband when he's due to be hung for a wrongfully accused murder. Intolerance was a sprawling epic, far grander a film that had dwarfed the scale and techniques of The Birth of a Nation. It seemed as though Griffith was making an apology with this film. But did he? Historian Kevin Brownlow interviewed those who had worked with Griffith and was told over the phone that he didn't feel he had anything to apologize for. Perhaps he was just too proud to admit Intolerance was an apology picture, maybe feeling it would diminish the film's greater appeal. It was, however, intended to shake off conceptions of him being racist and intolerant, most likely trying to explain that any racism in his work was unconscious. And Intolerance certainly has the feel of being a response to the controversy that brought about Birth being condemned by the NAACP and celebrated by the KKK. In other words, he didn't want to be seen as a racist, even though he had made a racist film. But maybe we just want to view Intolerance as an apology to remember Griffith in a greater light. The biggest problem with The Birth of a Nation is that while deeply racist, it also features a lot of trailblazing film techniques of the silent era. From the use of close-ups and editing, to the epic size of shots utilizing an absurdly large number of extras for battle scenes. Of course, one could argue that Griffith and other filmmakers had been perfecting these techniques before this film, but Birth is unfortunately notable because it's a combination of all of them into a towering epic feature. It's troubling to see a film such as this as more of a technical innovator than a negative narrative. It's not the only example of a film being a problematic picture with landmark qualities. Buster Keaton's The Playhouse used a stunning technique of overlapping footage to create multiple characters played by Keaton, one of those characters being a blackface minstrel performer. One of the greatest musicals of all time, Holiday Inn, unfortunately features a blackface number. And even the first all-black musical film, Stormy Weather, also features a blackface scene. And so it would be far easier to recognize Intolerance as the superior film for holding up better over time and showcasing more of Griffith's stellar filmmaking techniques and less racist overtones. So why don't we? The Birth of a Nation is considered far more notable of Griffith's career than anything before or after. It was his biggest commercial success, whereas Intolerance made much, much less. So unprofitable was the film that Griffith would dice up the segments and try to sell them as smaller, separate films on their own. And so the sad truth is that Griffith's The Birth of a Nation was both a boom and blotch on his legacy, maintaining a critical eye for his provocative and propagandic picture as opposed to his more friendly follow-up. Intolerance had been in the works before Nation began production, features an astronomical budget, and was one of the most ambitious films of the decade. But it wasn't Intolerance that was showcased at the White House to Woodrow Wilson. It wasn't Intolerance that was the highest-grossing film of the era before Gone with the Wind. It wasn't Intolerance that garnered the most controversy to be a snapshot of the era's rampant racist acceptance. And it wasn't Intolerance that was usually included in many film history class curriculums. It's The Birth of a Nation, the film that has become a stain on Griffith's career, no matter how apologetic Intolerance may appear. If it ever was. I'm not saying that The Birth of a Nation shouldn't be talked about in film history. It should, for both its technical prowess and disgusting showcase of early 1900s racism. And I'm not saying that Intolerance is effective as an excuse for the racism of Nation. It doesn't sweep away the despicable choice in portraying black people, and that the very source material of Thomas Dixon Jr.'s original novels were racist from the start. But what can be learned from these two films and its director is that, no matter how tolerant you may think you are, a deeply racist movie will make you look racist. And that's a stain that can't be rubbed away easily, even with a far better movie as a retort. Thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to watch The Birth of a Nation or Intolerance for yourself, both movies are public domain, and I've left links to them in the description where you can watch them below. If you'd like to see a particular video essay in the future, consider donating to Patreon, where I will take requests from there, and will also give you access to exclusive videos as well as my movie history books. Thank you for watching.